So cool, man. Today we get to dive into First Timothy 3 standards for church leaders. So this will be an interesting deep dive. So it starts off by saying, this is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children's subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride he fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must have a good rapport of them which are without, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil. Likewise, must the deacons be grave, not double-tongued, not given to too much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre, holding the mystery of the faith in a pure conscience, and let these also first be proved. Then let them use the office of a deacon, being found blameless. Even so their wives be grave, not slanderers, sober, faithful in all things. Let the deacons be husbands of one wife, ruling their children and their own houses well. For they that have used the office of a deacon will purchase to themselves a good degree and great boldness in the faith which is in Christ Jesus. These are the things I write unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the ground of truth, and without controversy great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the whole world, and received into glory. I like that ending. He just drops it, hits it in four sentences, just like the whole thing. Yeah. So, this is a very interesting text for sure.
Yeah, I feel
So
like
I
verse
go ahead.
verse 16 is the equivalent of like pulling one of those flashbang grenades, like just pulling the pin and just rolling it into a crowded building full of religious people. And
No,
just
for sure.
like, I'm gonna offend somebody with this. Here we go.
So yeah, I heard that a bishop can be translated into as a like a pastor would be can also be translated pastor, church leader, or presiding elder.
Yeah,
So
I think we need to start calling Jeff Bishop Jeff.
that would be cool. I do sometimes like those terms, bishop.
I think it's got a higher ring to it. But the Bible uses the word pastor too.
Yeah, I no, I was gonna say I always question, and it like makes me think deeper when they start calling themselves apostle. I'm like, I mean, hey, I don't know. I gotta dig more into it for sure.
Yeah. I've got some like mild Achilles tendonitis, and I'm like, if you're an apostle, I want you to make my Achilles tendonitis go away. And then they come back with, well, you're tempting the Lord and you don't have faith. And then I come back with, Jesus healed that man that was lowered in through the roof. He healed him because of his friend's faith. So I'm like, I don't need to be the one to have faith. You just need to heal my Achilles tendonitis.
Yeah, but if you were to be the apostle or like a apostle, the mindset behind that is you'd have to really believe you're an apostle, and so you would have to have a very strong vigor
Yeah.
for the Lord and for the leadership around you. Like you can't go into being an apostle halfway. Like you have to be like all in mentally.
Yeah. It's a high calling for sure, man. You better
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
make sure you have that.
So it says, if a man desires the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. So it's a good thing that you want to be a bishop or a pastor. A bishop must be blameless, a husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, and in good behavior, give up to hospitality, apt to teach. So you have to be a teacher. Not you can't be drinking a lot of wine. You can't no striker. So I'm assuming like you can't be beating women. Not greedy of filthy lucre. but patient and not a brawler. So like, yeah, dude, like that's interesting how you wrote like I kind of feel like Peter was kind of a brawler to an
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah. He's probably calling him out.
Like, dude, he's chopping dudes' ears off, like ready to fight, just like at the drop of a hat, man.
You know how when you send an email and you copy someone on it? In modern day, like, he sends this to Timothy, and then he's like, I'm gonna copy Peter on this." Just
Yeah.
I feel like he needs a little bit of this.
Yeah. There is a guy that would work at my place and I could always read his emails in his voice with his exact mannerisms and just be like, this is so passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, why are you sending these crazy emails? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
I think the older I've gotten, the more my emails have just gotten a lot more objective. Man, I remember I would spend forever on an email trying to get it to say the right thing in the right way. And now I'm just like, nah, just send it. Like just say what you're trying to say. People appreciate that more, I think, than they know when you're trying to like ruffle their feathers or unruffle their feathers or whatever.
Are you one of those people that like, so like, let's just say like you say, hey, Josh, we need more coffee in the kitchen. Can you grab some coffee for tomorrow on my company credit card or something? I don't know, something like that. Do you enjoy it when people like give you like a response to like a question? Like no matter what, like you're always sending like 10-4 or like received or like okay, will do. Like, do you ever send emails and you're kind of hoping like even if it's just like yes or like okay, do you need that clarifying email at the very end of it or you know? Because I've always been the type that like didn't respond because like I seen it and I don't necessarily say like okay. And so I know it's bothered people when I'm like they'll send me an email and I'm not like yes, will do or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the email. Like, I like to know if there is some.
Or okay, that was a bad example. Okay, like, hey, there's a meeting at 9 o'clock, everyone. Like
Yeah,
respond yes if you received it. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's like,
yeah.
yes, okay.
It just
I
depends.
gotcha.
If the loop is open,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
like texting and dealing with all these people building the house next door, there are times where I'm like, "Are you coming tomorrow?" Yeah, it's like there's this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I do like to close the loop. I like you to tell me that you're gonna be there or give me the little thumbs up. Like, it's so easy now, like, you give the little I don't know what this has to do with being a bishop, but while we're on that, one of the most frustrating things people can do, and it immediately triggers my passive aggressiveness, is we have someone right now working on the house, and instead of just texting me what you need, they text me, "Hey," and that's it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so
That's a like
they're
yeah.
very good, and then nothing. So I usually don't respond. I'm like, I'm not doing this, or I'll just respond, "Good morning," or something like that. Oh man, that's such a
That is
pet peeve
funny.
of mine.
That's so funny. Yeah, that is
Just say what,
funny.
and it's usually because they want to check. They're trying to get paid or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Uh that's funny. But yeah, so it says not a brawler, not covetous. One that rule oh this is the kicker. So one that ruleth well in his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man not know how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? That is so gangster of
Yeah.
Paul to just like write that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then
What's wild about that to me is, and I mean, obviously, he's talking about the people that are in your house. So he's not talking about your adult children. They've moved out,
no.
gone and screwed up. But it goes to show you that your children, when they're in your home so let's say under the age of 16, because back then they were probably moving out earlier or whatever.
Yeah.
It means that you should be able to control your children up until the age of 16 or so.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's motivating too. It's encouraging, but it's also motivating. It's possible, or he wouldn't make it a requirement. But
No, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, there's definitely a distinction. Like one thing that I've realized that I make sure to tell my kids like on a constant basis. And I don't know if I say it like in these terms, but I always give them like, hey, if you guys want some like environmental like knowledge, like you want some like real life in this moment knowledge, there's a time and a place for things. And I say like being all crazy and stuff in the house of God is not one of those places. Like just so you have like some understanding of like like situational awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like saying like there's times and places for everything, but like at church, like it's God's house. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a big deal. And I tell because like at one point in time, like in the Old Testament, the main guy would have to have a rope tied around him, and he'd go like wash the sins of the whole people. And if he had anything wrong with him, he would die. They'd be like, "Hey, Joe, you all right in there?" And if he didn't respond, they're dragging him out, and like the next guy's got to go in there, you know. And it's like that's how serious God's house is. So I'm like the kids that are just being wild. I'm like, there's just not a lot of situational awareness going on, and it's like I'm like, is it their parents' fault? I don't know. Is it their fault? I don't know. But all I know is like that's the result. And so like when you're at church, try your best to be on your best behavior because it's a big deal. Like it's like of all places, you know what I'm saying? Like do your best to be there in the house of God. But I don't know, man. It's like, but then it's like, okay, it's God's house, so can you really be yourself? It's like, yeah, to an extent, but you can still like be like respectful of everybody around you and all that stuff. But yeah, I try to teach situational awareness a lot to them, just so that like they kind of understand like how people perceive them or how people may look at them in certain situations. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's verses in the Bible where it talks about behaving yourself wisely in the house of the Lord, and I am trying, and maybe it's just the age of my kids, but, not specifically church, but just in general when there's adults around. That's my big thing is look around.
Yeah.
If Mr. Ralph is over for dinner and you don't see him climbing on the kitchen island, right? Then let's avoid climbing on the kitchen island. Now, if you see like Mr. Ralph and myself and we're climbing on the kitchen island, then it's fun time. It's time to climb on the kitchen island. But like
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, the church, and I think a lot of that respect for the church is gone because of the kind of the come as you are, like seeker sensitive movement. And
Yeah.
um I think some of the aspects to that are good because you do want people to come that maybe would not feel comfortable in like a Greek Orthodox service,
Yeah.
where you don't even know what's going on. You just know, like, I'm supposed to stand here and whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a line there, but I do think we've lost a lot of the respect, not just in the way that we dress, but in the way we act. We're like really slang. Everything is, yo, what's up, pastor?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then your kids don't see the added like reverence that a church should have, and it just cheapens it a little bit.
Yeah. There's no way, like, or sorry, there's nothing better than seeing like some old person just judging you up and down based on your kids. And it doesn't matter what race you are either. Like, you can be like an OG Hispanic old lady. And if your kids are acting a fool, that mom is getting judged, like just whiplashed in their mind. And you could see it in their eyes, or like it's this old like white lady or old black lady, like it doesn't matter. Like when she sees some like disobedient kids or like disrespectful kids in church, they're just like that head shakes just like this. Like
Yeah. Is there Go ahead, go ahead.
whatever you're being judged on typically goes to one spouse. So for example, like if somebody walks in your house, it's totally both the wife and the husband's thing. But if your house is tore out, it just falls on the woman. It just does. Like, it's the woman's fault, you know what I'm saying? But if you have, like, all these insane little kids running around, like, it does fall on the man to an extent, like, it does, but it's also like, "What's that woman doing?" Like, "What's that?" Like, does she not know how to discipline her own kids?" And it's like, it's crazy how certain things just fall on one of the spouses, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. Obviously, it's a team effort, but, like, certain judgments fall on, like, one spouse specifically, you know? And it's all judgment, which
This is something, so the last church we were at, no, yeah, it was the last church we were at up in Atlanta. There were probably 8 white people in the church, like, if that. It was a very small church, very conservative, very independent, very fundamental, all the things. Then we had a Spanish speaking church that was, like, alive. It was crazy. Like, it was growing. It was super cool.
Yeah,
So we had a lot of kiddos that were bilingual. Most of them were born in the States. I would say the majority of them were born in the States. But mom and dad were, like, trying to learn English. So it was
yeah,
different because, and they weren't all from, like, one area. Like, they're from Mexico, Colombia, like, the whole, you name it. Is there in your experience, like culturally with like the Latin family, are boys and girls expected to behave differently towards their parents? Like as far as the respect, because I'm not trying to bait you. So what we found is the little boys, like if Caitlin had to work in the nursery
Yeah.
or like we taught the teens for a while,
Yeah.
the little boys could be really mouthy to their parents, to their mom, not their dad. Like their dad would just lay him out. Like they would just never, you wouldn't see him again for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
And it was like one of the moms tried to explain to Caitlin that like having a strong boy was a good thing, but that didn't seem right. I was like, it doesn't seem like those mamas would put up with stuff from their kids, but it was
Mhm.
never like physically being mean. It was just like they would say stuff and the mom would just like, it wasn't a big deal. Whereas like I know if they had said it to their dad, he would have knocked them
Yeah.
out.
Well, I will say this, if you have a mom like that and you're in the Hispanic, like, role, so they should be, like, the same to both, right? Like, theoretically, they should be the same, but typically, like, there's a saying where, like, Hispanic moms just, like, adore their sons,
Mm.
like, tenfold, like, 10x. So, chances are, if you have a mom that doesn't really just hold their son, like, accountable or to the highest standard, I mean, typically, like, that woman might be a problem in the future with your daughter. 'Cause she's gonna be competing for that kid's affection, which is really messed up because, like, that kid brings her so much joy.
Hmm. Having a boy.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a saying where, like, there's memes all over it. I mean, I send it to Marjorie all the time, but, like, there was a meme I saw the other day where the mom had, this giant picture of their son in high school. Like, it's like a 12 by, like, 18 photo of, like, his high school picture, and then her 3 daughters had, like, the little keychain photos on the bottom rim of the portrait, and, like, the 3 girls were on the very bottom, like this big, but the son had a portrait, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And, like,
Okay.
that's just how it is, like, Hispanic moms just adore their sons, and it's coming from a place of love, but, like,
Yeah.
it can totally turn toxic, and you have to, like, pray for that future daughter-in-law because 'cause you're like, you have no idea, like, who you're about to compete with because, like, she'll put that kid in a bind, like, it'll be like, "Hey, am I the number 1 woman in your life, or is your wife?" And it's a really weird cultural thing where, like, sadly enough, like, in the Hispanic world, like, the mother-in-law is a big deal. Probably not as big as she should be, but it's like a thing, like, where don't take off your mom,
Yeah. It's
or
also
like,
very,
"Abuela's coming," like, "Don't everybody tighten up," like, "Abuela's coming," like, "We gotta change our whole life, and we can't get judged this weekend, so let's get the house looking perfect," and all that stuff, so
yeah, it's very matriarchal. Like
yeah, dude, yeah.
because Caitlin, half of Caitlin's family is from the Philippines, and they have that same. It's very matriarchal to the point that some of her aunts are still in charge of like her dad or something. Not in charge, but you know what I mean. Like their opinion is more than
No, it's a big
50%.
deal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
No, 100%, and what's crazy about that, and what you'll find, and I'm not saying this is with Caitlin's family, but what I've noticed about that is that typically you'll have those circumstances where, like, the women run the show, and the fathers are not the head of the household 100%. Like, the women will take over if you don't, you know? And so, and Marjorie and I mean, and I've felt that, like, my mom's kinda, like, dominated in some areas where I'm like, I should not have been so passive on that, you know? But yeah, no, like, it's important that I guess what I'm trying to say is it's so important, dude, as a man, there at some point in time, like, your parents are your parents, and you have to respect them and honor them, but, like, at some point, they're past their prime, and you're in your prime, and there's definitely gonna need to be a shift. I'm not saying, like, you're above your parents, but at some point in time, like, there's only so much advice you can listen from your parents. Like, it's not like because they're not in our day and age, they don't understand the parameters of what today's going on. Like, I'm not gonna go to ask some, like, older guy about social media addiction. You know what I'm saying? Because they have no idea, you know what I'm saying? Or even some of the like the snares of like what they went through as young men versus what the snares are of today. Like they have no idea. Like there's literally no information on those things. So it's like you can go for them on some things, but like you can't always go to like older people for certain things because they might have zero understanding of it, you know? But yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. I always find it interesting. Like there's a couple that we uh we saw and the mother-in-law came in town, and it was just so funny seeing a 42-year-old man turn into a little kid because his mother-in-law was coming into town for a week and a half. And I always find it comical because I'm just like, this is happening in real like free time. Like this Joker is completely changing his entire life because this one person's coming into town, and it's hilarious. It's so funny, but like it's so normal because it's one person. It's like, are they just? Is it going to be different if you just show them who you really are? Like, is that how it's going down? Or I don't know. It's just interesting. Human behavior is interesting, you know.
You know what's interesting about the
But
Bible is it's timeless, and it's
yeah,
there's
exactly.
these passages that we read. So, "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh." He
Yeah,
doesn't say, "For this cause a man will move out of his father's house and get married and start a new family." Like, that's how we would say it now. He says,
yeah,
"Leave father and mother." Like, "Bye. For all intents and purposes, I'm never gonna see you again." That is the mindset, and you're not gonna sit down with 90% of marriage counselors, like, or pre-marriage, like, "Oh, we gotta have pre-marriage
yeah.
counseling." And it's like, "All right, you need to delete your mom and dad's phone number out of your phone." Like, that's extreme, of course, but that's what he's getting at is you leave them.
Yeah.
And
No, for
if
sure.
you
No,
don't, then it's just nothing but trouble. Obviously, you respect and you still take wise counsel, and especially, well, and if it's biblical counsel, because that's what's cool about the Bible is it's timeless. So it doesn't matter if it's an 80-year-old or a 20-year-old. If it's biblical counsel, it's still relevant. But
yeah.
man, the number of people that get into trouble because they're trying to appease.
No, for
There's
sure.
two things that I see often, sadly. You have the husband or the wife, it doesn't matter who, they're trying to appease the in-law. So they're doing things to keep the peace, or they're compromising on certain positions they hold, or their own parents, whatever. And then the other side of it is there's like this angsty, passive aggressive, where it's like, she ain't going to tell me what to do type thing. Neither of those is good. It should just be this objective, like, if I want your advice, I'll ask for it. But other than that, like, my four walls are my four walls, and you're not welcome to come in unless I
Yeah.
ask you. As far as coming in, giving advice, so we're very fortunate. Like, our both sets of parents have done that so well that
Yeah.
we don't it's hard for us to relate to people. Like, we know it can be a problem, but we've never had to have like those hard conversations. We've never had to. So I'm speaking out of what I assume could be a problem, not something we've ever had to deal with.
No, no, for sure. And this is my whole thing with men. Like, this is why, like, I like to do the coaching stuff. And I've asked so many people, like, what is a man's prime? And I asked my dad this stuff, and I will tell you like the answers. But when you ask a man, hey, what was the best or most strongest point in your life mentally to where you could hear some information and gauge it, and it wouldn't like strike you, it wouldn't make you do one thing or the other. It would you were well rounded enough to like make a conscious decision or like have a deeper understanding. Like, hey, this is good advice. This is trash advice. This is horrible. And so what I've learned is most dudes say whether, and obviously guys change or they mature at different rates, but like my dad said his 40 to 50-year range was mentally his best era. That was when he was his sharpest, right? From 40 to 50. And then some people I've heard said 50 to 60. Like that was like the era where like they felt like no matter what someone said, they could gauge and be like, that's good or that's bad. Like there was no like they weren't going to be peer pressured at that point. Is what I'm trying to say. They had a conscious mindset of like, hey, this is good or this is bad. It's never. I haven't heard one person say it was from when I was 60 to 70 where I felt like I was my strongest. No, the 60 to 70-year-olds are not the best time for people when it comes to like mentality or mindset. Like they're not. maybe there's a handful of them that just keep getting better because they're just on that, like, stage, but, like, there's a threshold where dudes just kinda, like, don't care anymore. And I think that's like the 60 to 70 range. They're just there's like they've lived their life and they're kind of like enjoying the last whatever 20 years they have left or whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, those are the dudes that like know the most. Those are the guys that are at their are the sharpest. So like if you're gonna get wisdom from people like in real time, now I'm not saying you can't get wisdom from people that are in their 60s or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is like you ask any man when his best era was when it came to like his mentality, when he was his sharpest, when he was his most confident, when, he felt like he had a grasp of the world and the world couldn't necessarily push him around. It was from 40 to 50 or from 50 to 60, but I've never heard a guy say 60 to 70. And so it's like you have all these 40 to 50-year-olds and 50 to 60-year-olds like terrified of what the older generation thinks about them, or they're terrified of like some of these things. It's like, no, bro, like this is your prime time. Like you lead right now. This is the best time of your life. Like you're listening to all these old dudes, which is fine. You can listen to them, but like the system's not the same. You're not operating the same like mind. Like you're not. It's not the same as what they were growing up. It's not the same, not even a little bit. Like you actually have to be better. You have to be better than them. You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't know. It's just one of those things where like I find it sometimes just like frustrating when guys are afraid to like pull the trigger because of what somebody above them might think. And it's like, no, bro, like this is the prime time for you. Like pull the trigger, dude. Like do whatever you gotta do. Like you can listen to whoever above you. Yeah, that's fine. But like like you need to be more than them. You need to be better than them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like,
I'm thinking through. So your survey, your survey of men, at some point, there's because you'd have to ask someone who made it through the 60s and 70s.
well, that's a lot of people I asked. I asked a bunch of 67. I know a lot of old people, dude.
Yeah.
My dad's 77.
Yeah.
I know a lot of his friends. I know his pastors. His church is filled. I mean, he goes to the kind of church where like you might not see Norma next week because she might die. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like people are just dying left and right. Like everyone's dying at his church. You know what I'm saying? Which is, and they're not even sad about it. They're like, oh yeah, she went off to be with the Lord last week. Praise the Lord. But what I'm saying though is, you ask anybody that. I mean, dude, you do it. Ask any 60, 70-year-old dude. Be like, hey, when do you feel like you are the most on top of your game to where no matter who was telling you something, you could gauge it like correctly. And when were you the most? Because my whole premise was before even this kind of conversation was, should we have presidents in their 70s? Like, should we have people that are running the country in their 70s? No, you know why you have to have 40 to 50-year-olds? Because they actually care about the future. Because they still have another 20 years to live in it. Whereas 70-year-olds, they might have 10 years left. Might. You know what I'm saying? So like why would they really care about the future? You know what I'm saying? What makes them want to do a good job? Because they're not gonna be here very long. So it's like, I mean, in my opinion, we should have 40 to 50 to 50 to 60-year-olds. 40 to 60 is a prime time where we should have our presidents, because those dudes typically are going to be a lot more steadfast. They're going to be a lot stronger. And it's like, why aren't we having like, not, I would say 40 to 60 is young in the political sphere, but like, why are we letting the young guns run the country? You know what I'm saying? Like the 40 to 60-year-olds. Like, why are we letting these 75-year-old, 78-year-old? I mean, dude, Trump, what's the other dude, Democrat side? My mind's going crazy right now. Just all of them,
Biden.
Hillary Clinton,
Yeah.
all those guys. You know what I'm saying? They're all 78, 75, 79. You know what I'm saying? Who's the president we just had?
Biden.
Yeah, Biden. I mean, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, they're all these old guys, and it's like, why? Like, why? I
Yeah. I
think it's
think,
because they're the only ones that can afford it, but there should be a different system, dude.
well, and I think there's some power in the outliers though, as far as when I don't disagree with you. I think it's almost like there's a reverse adolescence where the and part of me is like, you've earned it. So you retire, you're 65, let's say, and you've got money. Hopefully, let's say you've got some money. You did
Yeah.
smart things. You got some money. There's almost a sense of like, I'm going to go off and do cruises. I'm going to go travel, hang out with my grandkids, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you've earned that. The exception would be the people who just keep grinding, and those are very rare. I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
But you know who those people are, and those are the people that you love taking them out to dinner because in like 5 minutes, they can drop more like truth bombs on you than someone might do in like 2 hours. But I do think they're probably the exception. Now they'll have like wisdom, just like general wisdom because they've lived on the earth for 80 years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you have to, and the same could be said, like, sure, there's 40-year-olds that are like absolute failures and stuff. But um when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, like you're still trying to get there, So you have to be a
Yeah.
little bit sharper. And then you turn, 65, 75, you're that like retired warrior that's sitting on the porch. So, yeah, that's interesting.
No, for yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, no, it was just one of those things where like, because the whole thing with the whole premise with all the coaching stuff is like getting people to move, getting them to
Yeah.
like shift gears. And it's like I don't think people understand like how powerful their mind is. And I don't think a 70-year-old mind is the strongest. I don't think a 65-year-old mind is the strongest. I think a dude typically in his 40s to 50s range, typically their minds are probably pretty on point, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to like not only like know-how, but like confidence and like an understanding of kind of the world and how it runs. And I think uh yeah, I just think that like when it comes to like your mindset, I think it should be pretty strong when you're in your 40s and 50s versus a 65-year-old or a 75-year-old, and there are strong mindsets, but like I see a lot of people that are in their 60s and 70s on Facebook and like their mindsets are so childish. Like they're commenting on everything. And I'm like, that's not, I hope to God Almighty that I'm not that person when I'm 65 years old. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
Like, I
like
hope I have, go ahead.
it's like a reverse adolescence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they don't even see it. They don't even
And
see it.
sadly,
Or they do see it. They're like, I don't care. I'm old. I don't care.
you
You get to
see
the
it
I don't care stage.
in like their physical, like in college, we had human growth and development. And this always stuck with me, but they had some like really popular song and they pulled clips off YouTube or whatever of people dancing to this song. And they were like, it was like a 1 year old or, probably 2 year old, 2 or 3 year old dancing to, I don't know, pick a favorite song. And then like a 5 and 6 year old, a 7 and 8 year old, a 12 year old, an 18 year old. And then like they kept going up. And it was just like a little 10-second clip of these people dancing.
Hmm.
And you could see like 18 to 25 was like the prime physically for like the dancing, right? And I think at some point they put like the actual artist in there dancing. Well, then then as you get older, you start to go back to like the 6 year old, the 5 year old, the 3 year old, right? So you do see it physically where your body kind of reverts back to being a child. And I think
Hmm.
especially in extreme cases like where you start to lose your mind. But as you get older, a lot of people think it's like a good thing that you lose your inhibitions and you just say whatever I want to say. I'm just going to say whatever I want to say. And it's like, no, put the phone down, like log out of Facebook.
No, it's not.
So yeah, it's like a reverse aging process.
One of the things that I really hope for, dude, I really do. I really hope I do it well. There's two ways to age. You can either age well or you can age like not well. Like you can either age with like more grace, more thankfulness, more appreciativeness, or you're going to grow up and be more envious, more resentful, more angry, like just horrible thoughts, right? And it's really sad when you see people that and they're like old and they're just jaded by the world and they're just like they look back and just see their life and they're like, oh, like I whatever. I really do want to I really do. It's really transformed the last like 8 weeks, but just leaving it out all out on the line and just going with like full guns blazing and just not letting fear run your life. That's how I want to roll out, dude. When I'm 70 years old, I want to be like, yo, like I tried my absolute best and I tried everything and I did everything I could to like get to where I'm at right now, and I didn't hold back at all. And this is the result, and I don't have any regrets. Like I went guns blazing, and and I don't know. It's just it's an exciting time, but I don't want to look back and be like, I should have done this or I should have done that. You know. Um, but yeah, we went on a crazy tangent. But yeah, man, like ruling your own house is a big deal, and what's so interesting? Imagine like the part of the deacon process is like analyzing your kids. and being like, your middle child's rowdy. You might be disqualified for that, but we're gonna take a vote, and we're gonna figure this out. And hey, if your kid can tighten up for the next 4 weeks, you're in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just interesting how he said that.
So yeah, I feel like we've been beaten up on old folks, but Titus. It's funny because the Bible, again, it goes there, like it goes
Yeah,
places, and so Titus 2 verse 1. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine. Why does he call out the women for not having wine? Teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. And then he goes into young men and skips over young women because they're kind of included in the instructions to
yeah.
the older
That's in
women.
Titus.
Titus 2, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but and this I'd have to study more of this. Men are basically told like be this when you're old, you know, grave, temperate, sober, sound in faith and charity and patience. The
yeah,
women are given so many more instructions, the aged women. And like Caitlin and I talk about this a lot, where it seems like women are not coached on how to be a wife, on how to be a mom. And especially in the last few generations.
yeah,
Why? Because the emphasis has been on go to college and get a degree. So you have now we're going on like 3 generations where instead of being taught by grandma how to raise kids and how to be like a homemaker, you've been taught by these secular liberal professors on
yeah,
how to be a stockbroker, and then by the time you decide to have kids, you're 30 years old, 35, and you have
mhm,
no clue. So the solution is medication and therapy. And you have, like, I work with all these kids, and the moms come in, they're driving an Escalade, they work full time, and a lot of the kids, they don't have a diagnosis, but they're not right. They're just a little off, and
yeah,
it's heartbreaking. And you can tell the moms are heartbroken because like, they're being a mom, that's the highest calling. And it's like, yeah, but you neglected it. You didn't train in that like you did your career.
yeah,
And it's had such a negative connotation to be a stay-at-home mom that,
yeah,
and now the shame is like my kid is acting this way and I got to fix him as quick as I can. And it's therapy and medication, and anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but it is one of those things like as an older person, as an older man or an older woman, you should strive to be the exception in that the younger generation looks up to you. Says, "Hey man, the Tomlinsons for a perfect example. Like they invited us over and I'm like, man, when I'm in my 70s, that's who I want to be." Right? And like
yeah,
so anyway, strive to be the exception. But then also if you're an older woman or you're an older man, you have to teach. That's what Titus says. You have to teach.
yeah,
Well, guess who's not going to teach? The person who has nothing to teach.
yeah,
So be the person that has something to show or something to leave behind and
yeah.
not someone that people are trying to avoid.
The Thomasons, he's the one that went to the military, right, for a long time, and then he lives in like Pensacola Beach
He was
over
in the
there.
art like he was in the
Yeah,
recondo units in Vietnam.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Oh yeah.
like him. You know why I like him a lot? You know why I like him a lot? And like, he's what gives me hope for like old people. I say this, and I don't know why I'm harping so hard on old people. I just been a lot. I've been around a lot of old people in my life. When your dad has you at 40, you're just around a lot of old people. But I like him a lot because he actually tells you his shortcomings and says I was wrong. There's nothing worse than to be around a bunch of old people and they never talk about their issues or like they never talked about where they went wrong. Cause that's actual teaching. He legitimately said he was that guy that would like do the finger test on the dresser to his wife because the military taught him how to do X, Y, and Z and how he said he was an idiot back then. Like that's actual wisdom to be like, hey, I had this, like, focus, and my wife didn't sign up for the military. Like, you can't be a military guy and expect your wife she didn't sign up for it, she's your wife. She signed up to be your other half or, like, your complementary part of your life, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, man, I just love it when people can actually be honest and tell you, like, where they went wrong. I love that, dude. It's so refreshing, bro, but it's like, if you don't ever hear about anybody's shortcomings, you're not gonna be a great teacher, bro. Like, you're not, man. I like him a lot because he's a GI Joe. He's like a super, alpha guy, but he talks about some of his shortcomings, and I don't know. It's just so refreshing, to hear a guy not be ashamed of like kind of like what he did back in the day because he knew. I mean, he could talk about it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Where a lot of old people, you'll never hear any of the things that they did wrong, like ever. And so it's like, and they're just afraid to go there. They don't want you to see their blemishes because they think it's gonna like ruin something. But no, it's not gonna ruin anything. If anything, it's gonna teach people. Let me ask you this question because you said in Titus 2, it talked about like teachers like teaching women how to love their husbands. Is that what it said? Like teachers.
The aged women,
Yeah.
the aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be
Yeah.
discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good,
Ye
obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed.
So, we talked about this a little bit ago, and I felt like I butchered the premise of it, and we actually got a couple comments on it, but my whole thing, and I'll say it way better this time, but my whole thing is that, the women, because of the husbands, how they ran the marriage, they're not selling marriage. They're not selling it to the lower generations. They're not pushing it because of whatever. Like and that's why I was saying like with you and Caitlin, imagine Caitlin not selling marriage. Imagine because you did such a poor job, like she's not like pushing it because it's like, hey, this is the best way. This is how God ordained it. Not like, hey, I'm surviving and I'm gonna push on you and this is how God ordained it. Like, no. Like we're striving and God's ways are true. And so I'm gonna push this thing on you because it's literally life. It's the best way. Whereas a lot of women, and so my question to you is, and think about it for real, like honestly, do you think a lot of older women believe that like marriage is the best way because their life was like truly blessed by it? And then not only that, but they're like teaching the daughters to like love their husbands to the highest level. They're teaching them to love their husbands to the highest level. You know what
Like
I'm
I said,
saying?
the power is in the exceptions, sadly. I really believe
No,
that.
no, no, it is. No, it is. It's not the rule. It's the exceptions. Yeah, there's like one family that the two families that that did it the right way, and it's like all the pressure's on them to kind of teach. Which some of them do, some of them don't. But I'm just saying, like it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the ownership, it's the same thing with anything in life though. It's the easy way out to say no one ever showed me, right? So that,
Yeah,
like, why do I do this? Well, that's just the way I was raised and no one has showed me any differently. I'm not discounting that as a
yeah,
strong factor for why you are the way you are, is your environment and who poured into you. But also, if you're a woman or you're a man and you're trying to be a father, a husband, a wife, etc., and you're not seeking out people to pour into you, because like I'm big on like accountability and ownership. And so like I was blown away with this young couple that reached out to us and was like, "Hey, we want to go on a
yeah,
date with you guys, like a double date." I was just taken aback by that. I was like, and it was awesome. Like we had a great time.
yeah,
And it wasn't weird, it was great. Or go out with somebody that you respect. We do it all the time in like the business
yeah,
world. You do it all the time. You're trying to get into real estate. Well, who are you going to take out?
yeah.
The guy that works at Waffle House or the guy who has 100 properties, you know?
Hmm.
So, to your question, yes, I think the majority of women didn't have a great experience as a wife or as a mom. Well, probably more so as a wife. I think because the mom, they can kind of salvage that because they don't need their husband as much. Like,
Yeah,
it's a different conversation. Yeah, it's sad. But then if you're the up and coming mom or the up and coming wife, don't listen to those people because they obviously are not a good example of
No,
who
for
you should
sure.
be like.
No, I would agree. Yeah. But yeah, but my whole thing was if the husband did his job, right? He wasn't passive. He actually did his job as a husband. The wives would follow suit and they would sell marriage. They really would. They would be on your side. They'd be your biggest cheers, when it came to the matrimony and to like giving your life to a man for your whole life. But if you're not doing a good job as a man and you're that guy that just like kind of ruined everything, they're not going to sell it. They're going to sell the scars. They're going to sell the bad times and the horrible memories that they had. They're going to sell that, and all they're doing is pushing the next generation away from what God kind of intended. And then the other side of it too, it's like, teaching women how to love their husbands. Like that's a big deal. And sadly, like I don't know if it's just I know it's hard, but like I know that's hard for women to teach other women on how to love their husbands. That's a hard thing. I don't know how many classes are made here. Here's a class on how to love your husband better. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And that little set of verses you said it was in there twice. Like,
Yeah.
it's in there twice. So it's like, it is a big deal, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's just one of those things, man, where it's like, and I'm not saying, I'm not saying I say this all the time, but I do think to an extent, like the millennial generation is going to be doing a lot of work. And we're doing a lot of work, but I think like we're like that generation that kind of like was able to heal. And I think because we're like homeschooling our kids on this like massive level. You know what I'm saying? Like we're enjoying wallpaper again, and we want the family dynamic to be even stronger. So I do think it comes in waves, and I do think like as a generation, at least our generation, I think uh we're doing a good thing to like move towards the future. And I tell this to everybody, I'm like you go to like a boomer old retirement home, it's so sad. I'm like, dude, when the millennials are in those old time, like we're gonna have pinball machines, we're gonna have like Nintendo, whatever, and it's gonna be a fun place. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like a boring place. I think it's gonna be like a lot of fun. Like when the millennials are in all these old people homes, it's not gonna be as like dead looking as it is right now when you go to an old person home. It could be the nicest place ever, but there's still like a staunch of like, I don't ever want to be here kind of thing. Whereas like I think when we're old, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, hopefully when you're old, one of your kids will take you in, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that in and
yeah,
of itself is I understand that it's cultural, but it breaks my heart, man, when I hear and see like if you lived in Italy and your mom got old, like your mom
yeah,
lives downstairs or whatever, like yeah, that's sad. Like old people homes are just sad. And I get it like when sometimes your mind goes and you become like harmful or you just need like full-time care and like medical care. I obviously understand that. But I work with a lot of older folks and they live in an apartment by themselves and their
yeah,
kids live in Biloxi or something. And I'm like, why are you not? Do you have family here? Well, my daughter lives in Tennessee and my son lives in California. And I'm like, and you're living here by yourself in this little apartment on Social Security.
yeah,
And, on one hand, I'm like, whose fault is that? And whatever, that's not my call to
yeah,
make. But, it's sad. As far as like millennials, I, I do think the pendulum is shifting. I think women, and this is in part due to social media, I think women are swinging towards like the trad wife, traditional wife, the homeschooling, the homesteading, which is great, especially if you're not doing it just for the likes and the algorithm, like you're actually doing.
yeah,
What I don't think most people are prepared for is the amount of work that it takes to be that long term
yeah,
and to do it well. Then then the missing link is the husband because women by and large I think find it very easy to be very motivated and to be very disciplined and to run that family. And we've talked about
yeah,
that with the curse. The curse is that the woman wants the husband's job. The
hmm,
desire shall be to the husband. And so men, it's not the wife's fault. I mean, it is in some cases where she's trying to overthrow his authority, whether it's actively or passively. But a lot of that ownership is on men to run the family and to be the head
yeah,
and to be the leader. And So, which we're seeing that as well. We're seeing the pendulum swing to where men are more interested in like, how do I be a good father? How do I be a good husband? How do I be
Yeah,
a good
for
role
sure.
model? You see all these like programs for men and these groups
Yeah,
online and stuff, which is great. Um, so I would like to think that that's happening. And I know for me personally, you have to be careful about who is in your circle, who is influencing you
yeah,
specifically. Um, and then have some way to do a outside of the body check on yourself and your family and you and your wife.
yeah.
But it is people underestimate how hard it is to do well, I think.
No, for sure. I will say this though, because I know I've been like beating up on the old people, but I will say this, and I do give them great props in in this aspect where obviously, the boomers or whatever, the Xers or whatever, like they raised to an extent like the millennials. You know what I'm saying? I will say this though, their parenting did yield pretty good results. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the millennials as a whole,
Yep.
I will say, like, whatever their tactics were or whether it was because it's just the way we grew up, but I will say that, they were the ones in charge raising us, and so I will say, like, even though, like, they themselves may have not been so, like, open to all these, like, awesome things, like, at least they made us, like, I don't know anybody that doesn't text and say please or thank you or some kind of, like, term in a text message that's, like, polite and like it's consistent throughout like everyone's texting, whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, like, we're very like I know a lot of dudes that they're just naturally polite. I think it's just because like how we were raised. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't want to like intro like we're so nice about things. Like we're just like we tread lightly. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of ingrained in all of us.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actual blindness or if it's like people that just don't want to see it. That is a constant source of frustration for myself and Caitlin, where we see families that do a 180 as far as discipline and raising their kids because of the way they were raised. And yet
Yeah,
they turned out really well. And it's usually about discipline.
yeah,
Let's just pick out spanking. I was spanked as a child. I'm not going to do that with my child. We're going to go do the gentle parenting route. Cool, cool. You turned out
yeah,
really good. Your 4-year old is miserable to be around. Miserable. Like to the point that we're not going to
yeah,
invite
yeah,
you
yeah.
over for dinner again. So we'll try again when your child is 8 or 9, but
Oh, that's so
you don't
funny.
get to come back. And you forsake the old
uh,
ways
that's so funny.
because it's so much better. And I like how Jeff puts it. We'll see how it will plays out. He's said it many times that he's going to sit and he's counseled, he's taught classes. People ask him, "Your children are great. Like they're so enjoyable to be around. What's the secret?" "Oh, well, this is what we did." "Yeah, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to try it this way." Cool. Rock and roll. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah,
My big worry with our kids as millennial parents is we have the benefit of, like you said, really good, if not somewhat strict and hard upbringing. So we turn out good through hard work, all the stuff that we want to put on ourselves, but we were a product of who raised us. And then we have all these resources, whether it's internet, whether it's Bible studies, the whole thing. We have the Jordan Petersons of the world that are free. We can listen to them for free. We
yeah,
have the Jockos of the world that we can listen to for free. All of these people, and those are kind of the two extremes. I don't know what the women equivalents are, but you have all these people. And in general, I think millennials are trying to be this ideal population. But if we're not careful, our kids are going to totally slide down the hill. And then the
yeah,
pendulum is going to swing back. Our kids are going to be awful in so many different ways. And they're going to look at us and have the same podcast and say, "Man, my parents, they were so gentle, they were so nice, everything was so emotional and lovey-dovey, but I just wanted someone to tell me how it was," or whatever.
yeah. No, for sure. Yeah,
You can do it well, and I think most of the people that you and I know are trying our best, but the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, and we'll see how it
No,
plays
it's gonna
out.
be interesting for sure. No, it'll definitely be interesting for sure. Yeah. It's just yeah, I think obviously, like, chapter 3 is about church leadership, but I think what it comes down to is if you're gonna have people run the church, they need to be able to run their house well. And if there's some and this is my whole thing, dude. Like, this is my whole thing, right? To what extent does church play a role in your life, man? Like, is your pastor supposed to speak into your life and be like, "Hey, bro, your kids are rowdy. Tighten up. Like, tighten up. Like, what are you doing? Like, your kids are acting a fool, and you're the father." I'm not going to your wife. Like, some things, happen with my kids or whatever, and I didn't go to the wife. I went to the man. I'm like, "Hey, bro,
Mhm.
like, this happened. I don't need your wife's anything. I don't need anything from her. Me and you are gonna talk about it." And it was great. It was a great conversation. It was not bad, but I don't need to go to the wife for anything. I can go to the husband and be like, "Hey, bro, this happened. Let's talk about it." And whether the women want to have like their little whatever on the side, that's fine. But like, no, man, it's the men. You know what I'm saying? It's like one thing that I'm really trying to like grasp and I really want to put thought onto on paper, and I really want to ask people what they think. But it's like, to what extent does your pastor speak into your life? Is this just a really awesome Bible study that we're all a part of? And we all show up every Sunday to get this really awesome Bible study going? Or does your pastor really speak into your life? Is he really trying to create change in your life? Is he really trying to like make you better unit as a family and more closer to God and like more spiritually alive and to like make sure that the Holy Spirit's operating. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I know people get offended if they step too much. I know people will leave the church if they get offended. So it's like, and I'm not saying anything about our church. I'm just saying, like, in what capacity does your pastor speak into your life? And I think he speaks into it pretty heavily. That's what I think. When I read the Bible, I think it's your friends, iron sharpening iron, countenance of a brother. I think it's the dudes around you. I think the deacons are like legit, the recon guys that are doing a lot of the work. But I do think it's coming from the head pastor saying, "Hey, you guys need to make sure that these families are doing well. And if there's something that I need to step into, yeah." But like, I do think church as a whole is to create insane, God moved, Holy Spirit led change in everyone's lives. And I don't know if people even want that, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know if the average person wants people looking at them and being like, "Hey, you're lacking this area. Like what can we do to make this better for you?" Kind of thing.
Well, verse 2 at the very end, he says, "Apt to teach."
Yeah.
If you just look up the word "teach" in the Bible and what that means, the reference that I found that kinda stuck out with me was Psalm 51:13, and he says, "Then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee." So, the Bible talks about the law, and you wouldn't know what sin was if you didn't have the law, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a really
Yeah.
good person. Well, have you lied? Yeah. Okay. Well, you broke the law. Like, if you don't have the law, you don't
Yeah.
know that you're a sinner. And David is saying he's going to teach sinners and then they will be converted. So when he talks in First Timothy and he says apt to teach, I think that's what he's getting at is of
Yeah.
course you teach the people that are already saved, but your teaching should also be pointing out errors in your ways. And that's what you're alluding to is your teaching should rub people the wrong way a little bit if they're sinning, if they're doing something
Yeah.
wrong, if their kids are rowdy, if their wife is out of control, if you know, um, and then those sinners are converted. And that could also, if you want to apply it to someone who's a Christian, is if they're doing something wrong and you teach them, and by teaching them, you're basically calling them out, saying, "Hey, this is wrong. This is what the Bible says about this. These are the consequences." Then that person hopefully repents and they change, they convert the way that they're going, and you do it in the right way. But the main thing is that you do it.
No, it's
Yeah,
very uncomfortable, dude. It's very uncomfortable, but like that's what I'm trying to say is like it's like how much should the leaders in your church speak into your life? I think, and this is one thing that I've learned in my coaching thing, and this is what's mind blowing, right? Everything I'm learning about the coaching stuff, it is so obvious in the Bible, dude. It's crazy. But like one of the things is if you're going to be a part of an organization, right, every man has to pay the price. Every man does. right? Whether that's with time, whether that's with money, but to be a part of XYZ, right? It has to like everybody has to pay. And so when you pay money to something, you're actually like investing in that thing. And so one of the reasons why I think God has us do the tithe is because it has to cost you something. It has to. That's the only way that you're going to take anything serious. So in theory, right, just like a pastor's supposed to speak into our lives, as a paying person, I'm allowed to speak into your life too. I can call you out just like you can call me out. And it's this wonderful back and forth sharpening thing where you can look at that and be like, oh, like, no, you can't talk to me like that because I'm going to be offended. It's the same both ways. It's a closeness. It's a brotherhood. It's a iron sharpening iron. And guess what? Guess what happens when iron sharpens iron? It's not a pretty sight. It's like it's friction. It's like it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's not this like gentle sponge bath thing. It's like no, it's like and so when if we're all like rubbing it up against each other, trying to become better people, you know what I'm saying? The process might be, I'm not gonna say rough, but it's like it's a friction process, but it's gonna create godliness. It's gonna create good things. It's not gonna create bad things. Now you can learn the process on how to do it the right way. You're gonna fail obviously a few times at the beginning or whatever, but like the whole premise or the whole process of it is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's to get us closer to God. It's to make us better Christians, to make us better disciples. And it's like I don't know. It's like we're in this place where like people are afraid of that, and it's like, how can I help people around me to like want to be better? You know?
The motive, there's so much in this chapter. Verse 15, where it talks about behaving yourself in the house of God. The very end says, which is the church. So he says, verse 15, but if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth.
Yes, dude. Yes. Yes.
And then he goes into
Exactly.
verse
Yeah.
16, which is probably one of the most, you know, throw a grenade in the tank, close the hat. Like, without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. Those two verses, the truth is verse 16, the pillar and ground of the truth, verse 16, which is Christ, salvation, get saved.
Yes.
How do we get saved? Well, it's not that important as long as you come to God. Well, it's very important how you come to God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the pillar and ground of the truth, the amount of responsibility that comes with being the head of a church, like a local church, and or being a deacon where you're like a helper in that church. You're talking about the pillar and ground of the truth. That's a
Yeah.
huge deal.
And you know what's mind blowing about that? Okay, let's just say you as a deacon speaking to someone's life and you're like, hey dude, I can see this area of life is lacking a little bit. Like I don't want to offend you, but like it's lacking. Guess what that dude's gonna be? Like guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna have a talk with his family. And the following Sunday, he's gonna be eyeballing that kid or whatever. And it's gonna be a thing with them. He's gonna make sure that it like that thing doesn't happen or happen worse than the previous week. There's a conversation. There's like energy shifted. There's something that happened, and it's like we look at that as like it's a bad thing, but no, you love your brother. You actually care about his life. You want what's best for him, and if you see an area in his life that's like slacking, it's like, hey, I saw this, and I just want you to know, like, you should probably have a conversation with so and so because it's just not the best way to run it here, like in God's house, what we call it. But I don't know, man. It's like when you speak into people's lives, it's not nothing bad's gonna happen. They can either receive it and like take it and be like, hey, thank you, or they're gonna be like, hey, I'm offended, I'm gonna leave. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's like I know it's a hard place to be, but there should be a skill set that we do weekly. There's got to be a way where guys can train to do those things and do it in a godly way. But like, sadly, I don't know if there's a training when it comes to like speaking into people's lives in the church. I don't know. Like that's a skill to be able to speak into people's lives, you know.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we're at the end of the day, the church is not the building. The church is the people that make up the building. And so you me, the people in church, we are the pillar and ground of the church. And the Bible talks about being built up as living stones, where Christ is the corner and we are the living stones that are built up. So, quite literally, we are the stones that make up the church,
Yeah.
and we are the pillar of truth, whether that's for our community, whether that's for our family, our church family, the lost world. What is truth? The truth is the church, the people that make up the church. That's a lot of responsibility. And I know that we're not doing the best job that we can do individually or collectively as a church.
Yeah,
You hear in
for
the
sure.
old days where like a preacher would come into town and then all the bars would close up or whatever. Where is that at? Where people should feel uncomfortable and awkward when you say like I go to church. That should change their whole demeanor. That should change the way they talk to you. That should change the way they talk around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we are just not doing a good job of being the pillar and ground, but it's fixable. That's the cool
No,
thing.
it's definitely fixable. It's just yeah, it's just getting going to uncomfortable places and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like that, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, you know? But that's cool, man. Well, let me pray us out real quick. Lord, thank you so much for this study. Lord, thank you for Josh and his wisdom. Thank you, Lord, for your Bible, all its wisdom. God, I just pray that, we can live up to these things. And guys, pray that you just watch over our life, help us to be sharper for you, Lord, as iron sharpening iron. And God, I just pray that we take these things and let these things happen in our life. And everything is to your glory, God. We love you. We thank you so much for everything, God. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah.
Man.
Stop it.